At WBAP, we continue to follow the Malaysia Airlines story. Still, they've found some debris from a Chinese satellite. Now ships are en route to try to determine if that debris is in fact from the flight. And the other story is of this mysterious phone call that occurred to one of the pilots right prior to takeoff. We'll get into that throughout the morning. But right now, Ken Jenkins joins us. He's an aviation crisis consultant, and Ken reached out to the command center there in Malaysia. Actually, Ken, I want to make sure I get this right. Were you actually in Malaysia as the search for this missing airliner began?
Yes, sir, I was.
All right, so you go there, you're in Command Central, and what are you talking to those folks about? Because I'm assuming, knowing your area of expertise, that you were trying to assist the families as much as anything.
That's correct. We were there assisting Malaysia Airlines with the organization and deployment of their special assistance team members, which are volunteers within their company that are trained to work with families in the aftermath of an accident.
And Ken, what are the priorities in a situation like that? Because I'll be honest with you, the stories that we've read coming out of Malaysia and out of China is that these families are really struggling right now with a lack of information.
You're exactly right. They are struggling with a lack of information, and in part, it's not due to Malaysia Airlines per se, as it is to the government leading the investigation. The airline special assistance team members are there to make sure that the families are comfortable, that they have a place to stay at a hotel. They establish what is called a family assistance center, where they provide information throughout the course of the day, tend to their needs, travel arrangements for family to come in and support them, mental health care support if it's needed, things of that nature, and then coordinate with the authorities for a briefing in the afternoon on the search and rescue and how it's going.
Ken, we're over 2 weeks into this search and hopefully rescue at this point, but looking highly unlikely. What's the budget like for the support of these families? You mentioned the fact that they're often put up in hotels and travel arrangements are made for other family members to come in. What's the budget like? Who foots this bill?
Well, the ultimate responsibility of taking care of the families falls with the airline, and of course through their insurance carriers. Much of that containment in terms of cost will be borne by them. But at the same time, airlines do prepare for this. Within the United States, for example, and other countries around the world, there are actually legislative provisions that mandate that airlines be prepared to do this. So at that point, it becomes the airline's expense, but it will certainly be offset by some of the insurers.
Yeah, Ken Jenkins is with us, an aviation crisis consultant. Okay, so the situation right now, as we said, over 2 weeks. Are there families who have been, and I'm going to use the phrase, cooped up? Have they been in a hotel room for 2 weeks waiting on some word?
Yes, sir. I mean, that's the long and short of it is they want to be closest to where they believe the information is, and understandably so. At the same time, the frustration and anger continues to increase simply based on the fact that no information is found. So at some point, if this debris field that the Chinese and the French and the Australians are searching for does not pan out to be debris, I would think you would see at some point in the near future the Malaysian government declaring a loss to the aircraft so that things can move forward.
Ken, you were in Command Central at the early stages of this search, and I know you were assisting Malaysian Airlines and the Malaysian government in how to help these families cope. But I have to ask you this as well. Were there mistakes made early on by the government or by the airlines as far as the communication issue with these families is concerned?
Well, it'd be easy to sit back and say that mistakes were made. I can't say that I wasn't there on the ground when this first happened. I arrived 2 days after the event started. I would say that when you look at how other governments handle accident investigation, and let's look at the United States and the National Transportation Safety Board, there certainly doesn't seem to be a command and control of the situation that you would see here in the United States.
Okay. Thank you much, Ken. By the way, you've been in some difficult situations. Where does this one stack up?
This one is right at the top.
Yeah.
Not having an aircraft, I think if you go back 4 years and you look, or almost 5 now, to Air France 447, it was a horrific accident, but there was debris found within a matter of days, which helped the families to be able to process what had happened. We don't have that in this particular case. And not knowing, the mind will let people conjure up images that it would be just be hard to work with right now.
Ken Jenkins, Aviation Crisis Consultant, thanks for the time. Thanks for getting up early with us this morning for the latest there.